What's going on, guys? It's Brandon over at Old Anvil Speed Shop. Today we're going to be doing a kind of a quick little project. We did have a customer come in that's got a 65 Chevelle, and he brought us this plastic kind of chin spoiler, which he just really wasn't too happy with, and he wants to get it made out of some aluminum. So I went ahead and cut some rough pieces just to kind of give me a baseline of where I'm going to go with it, and we're going to start shaping. So we'll take you along for the ride and show you how it all comes together. And we don't have the car, so let's hope this fits on the car when we're done. All right, so I went ahead and took some quick measurements off of our plastic spoiler here, and basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my calipers, I'm going to make some scribe lines on our aluminum pieces. So I'll lay out the bend lines, upper and lower. I'll get those bent, and then I'm going to fit them together at this angle here. I'll get the center seam welded together. I'll leave both of my ends long. So right now, I believe this is like 28 inches from center out on both sides. So I'll probably run it maybe 30 or 32, whatever I cut these to. I'll leave them long, and then once I've got the center seam welded together, I'll come back in here and I'll stretch this upper flange, and we'll start getting the curve shape to match this one. So I'll probably take a template off this. I might even lay it on a table and like take a Sharpie and just make that shape. And then once I've got these together, I can start stretching that upper flange to start giving me that shape, and then I'll just go back and keep test fitting to that and make sure that the shape is good. Got my upper, which I said I'm gonna run them a little bit big. So these are about 1.25 inches. Just about, maybe a little bit less. This obviously tapers down. So I'll run the 1.25 inches on the top, and then we'll get everything bent, get everything together, and then I can trim this flange down after the shape is in it. Perfect, that'll work. So I want to know what angle this is. Now it is kind of hard because this is all plastic, so we're just trying to keep as little pressure off of it so we're not bending it. And cool. So we're there for the top one, so let's go ahead and bend that. To open that up just a little bit. Cool. This side bent. Yeah, so we got our top edge bent, so now we're gonna bend the bottom one. I just wanna double check, make sure I've got this angle right. And as long as we're good here, then we'll go ahead and bend that bottom flange as well. Basically, the main thing is you wanna try your hardest not to overbend, because you can get that bend back out like I did on that first piece. I overbent it a little bit, so I put it over a tube and hammered it, and it opened that angle back up. But ideally, I'd rather underbend it, check it, and then have to go a little bit more and just kind of do it in increments. It's easier that way. Sometimes with like thicker material, if you overbend it, trying to bend it back out is really just a pain. So I try to be careful in that aspect. But because I know how this is supposed to look, I'm trying to get close to that. So I think that's probably pretty close. Let's see if this one actually works out too. That's pretty good. It's pretty not that bad. The problem with building off something like this that's plastic, it's so floppy. And so if you buy one of these online and you go to stick it in your car, if it's off a little bit, you kind of just pull it, get it to line up, get it in there, and you're good to go. Whereas what we're making, obviously, you're not really gonna be able to do that. And because I don't have the car here, I'm trying to use this to the best of my ability. But let's do this. Let's go off of this. See, I don't want to put too much pressure on it. Just kind of let it sit on there. Now we need to get these things together and get them to that angle. So basically I'm going to cut both of these. I'll take that angle and I'll split the difference, and I'll cut half here, bring them together, and then I'll weld the front seam. And that'll give me the general shape I need. And then I'll come back with the stretcher and I'll take this and I'll stretch this out so it starts to roll out on both sides so it matches this shape. And then once we've got all that good, I'll match it to that. And then we'll cut the ends to length, and I'll weld some caps on those ends and get those all metal finished out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shave those corners off, and what's gonna happen because of the angle and the way that these sit, it's actually gonna leave me with an open gap in the bottom. So once I've got it close, I'll figure out how much I need to take off to close that, bring it together so I've got a nice even weld seam. Keep everything tight so there's no gap when I weld it. One thing I do want to mention is anytime we're grinding on aluminum, so a lot of times you'll want to hand file to finish, but when you've got weld seams and stuff, we want to do, you know, the brunt of the work we want to use a die grinder for, just because it's much quicker, and then we'll finish it off by hand. But when you're using a die grinder with like a roll-lock pad, a lot of times we'll use some wax. Big shout out to Sean over at Empire Fab. He has hooked it up with these a bunch of times. We love these things. They work great. They're really affordable. They last a while. I mean, I've had this thing in my toolbox for quite some time, but these are great. Basically, you're just gonna take your die grinder, you're gonna go ahead and grind some of that on there, get that pad all coated, and then when you come in here and you start grinding, what it's gonna do is it's gonna keep your pad from getting all like galled up, right? So aluminum is really soft, so these die grinders spin real fast, it gets really hot, it'll pack your roll-lock pad, and when it packs your roll-lock pad, then it'll dull out and you won't cut, and you wanna make sure you're cutting, so the wax will help a ton with that. So nice and easy. Now, one thing I will also say is when you're grinding aluminum with this, with the wax, you have to make sure before you weld, you do a real good cleanup on it, because any of that residue that's left over, it's gonna mess up your weld, you'll get porosity, it'll weld really poorly for you. So just make sure you do a good cleaning before you weld anything out. So that's a start. We'll see where we line up. So we got about a 1/4 inch at the bottom. We'll suck that in. Yeah, that's pretty good. Take my DA and clean up that edge. Angle's good, that way now once I get this welded I can come back in and stretch both top sides, and then I'll do a little bit of stretching on the bottom, that way we can match that curve. All right, so I've got a couple tacks on this thing. I'm gonna keep going, add a few more tacks on here, and then I did decide I wanna put a little bit more angle to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually just come in here and slice that seam on both and kind of tweak it back a little bit. That way when I start stretching this, it just doesn't cause any issues up here. I wanna make sure that that angle is real good and matches that one really well and keep the shape. All right, so I've got this all welded out. I'm gonna take my die grinder, I'm gonna knock off, you know, all the heavy stuff, and then I'll come back in with a file. That way we can kind of crispen up the point in the front and get everything nice and smooth and flat. So, and then we're gonna round over that front too. And so when we round it over, the peak, as long as I've got a pretty center peak in it, once we round it over, it'll blend out real nice. And so if I take my DA flat, and I just run it flat like that, it's gonna create that peak in it. So you'll see where your peak is right down that center. So, and then just to match that other one, we're gonna take it and we'll round it. That way you still have your defined peak, but it's just nice and smooth and round. Not too bad. I might crispen that up a little bit. Yeah. I sand that, file that a little bit more. You see the peak's a little off, so we'll straighten all that out. But I'm gonna start trying to get this shape right. Go ahead and stretch this thing out. I'm gonna get a little bit of curve in there, and then we'll go see if we can match it up to that other one and see how close we are. Again, this is another one of those things where less is more. I'd rather do a little bit, check it, do a little bit, check it, than overstretch or overshrink and then end up having to go back the opposite direction. Now, if I do overstretch it, I can go back and shrink it a little bit, but you don't want to do that too much just because the material doesn't like it after a while. It gets real overworked, and so as you can see, there is a little bit of crown in that. So we'll see, we'll hold that up to the other one, see how we're looking. Yeah, see, this thing needs quite a bit more. I'm gonna do just a little bit on the bottom too. That looks pretty good. The shape looks pretty good. The bottoms on the plastic kind of curl out, but I'm assuming, if I had to guess, these little holes, there's probably two little tabs that come down that grab onto that and hold that in place, because to me, that doesn't look right with it kicked out, but that does. Yeah, because right here, like, I can't imagine it sits on the car that tweaked, because that's a lot. That wouldn't look right on the front of that thing, so. Yeah, so that looks pretty good to me. All right, so now that we've got this all filed out and did a quick DA over the whole thing, I took some quick measurements off of the old plastic spoiler and laid out all those lines and the angles. So we're gonna come in here with the cutoff wheel, get those cut, and then I'll shape our end pieces, get those to fit, get those welded on, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll file all those out, DA them nice and smooth, and then we're gonna have to get these little pads put in there. So I'm kind of thinking I'm gonna end up just hammering those in, but we'll see how it goes. Just like with the Roll-Locks, when you're cutting aluminum, you can actually take your cutoff wheel and run some of this wax onto your cutoff wheel. And it essentially does the same thing, and it will actually help you cut through the aluminum, and you won't feel the cutoff wheel fighting you as much. So I can start to feel that aluminum starting to kind of gall up the wheel. So I'll go ahead and just reapply a little bit of this to it. And you can see it just glides through like butter. Just go ahead and knock that burr off. Cut that thing along, 1.25 inches. Yeah, 1.5 inches. So I'll go 1.5 inches by like 7. Yeah, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna see if it works, but I wanna put a little bit more radius into those edges so it kind of matches that other one a little bit better. I don't know if I'm gonna get enough out of this die though. Let's see, oh, it might work out. I'll have to do a little bit of hammer work in the corners to get those corners to look right. But it might actually work. So I can weld this on the end like that, and then just shave that little corner. It'll give me a nice little bump. Or, I mean, I could try to roll those edges too. Problem is, these are too tight corners, so they won't go through the roller, so I'd have to do it all by hand. But if I do that, it's gonna give me a little bit more of a radius. I don't even know if it's worth doing more, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, I could probably weld that on and be like totally good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So again, I'm just kind of knocking off all the heavy stuff. We'll get it kind of close, and then I'll go back in with a file and get everything nice and smooth and even. Yeah, so basically what I'm doing to recreate those bumps in the top, we decided that we don't want any bumps in the front. We only want them up top where it's gonna hit the mounting surface. So basically what I'm doing is, those are up about 3/16 of an inch, so I've got some, just some bar stock that I'm putting under on each side, and then I'm hitting, so obviously I've got this thing upside down. So you put one on each side, you leave your open gap in the middle, and then I'm just taking another piece of aluminum that's got kind of a shaved down edge, and I'm using that to kind of chisel in there, and I'm hitting it down. So basically I'm stretching this material, and I'm creating that stepped kind of profile on top of this. That way, once it gets mounted back on the car, it'll match up the same way that one does. So there's a good chance these corners are gonna crack on me, which it looks like that one kind of did. So I'll just come back in and zap that thing with some weld, blend it, smooth it out. Oh yeah, not too bad, that'll work. Alrighty, so I just got this thing wrapped up. We got the dimples up top. That way he can go ahead and get it mounted just like that one was. One thing I do tend to do a lot of times when I'm doing any sort of metal shaping is we've got these 6-inch Scotch-Brite pads that go on a DA. And I like using these after I've DA'd everything because it just kind of brings everything to the surface. So this will show immediately if there's any dents, dings, you know, anything like that. When you DA a panel, it tends to hide a lot. So I like finishing them out with this. That way I know that my work is good and everything looks nice and clean and smooth. And yeah, hopefully the owner's pretty stoked with that. I know I am. So we're gonna leave the upper flange and the lower flange a little bit wide, and we're not gonna drill any mounting holes. We're gonna go ahead and give this back to him and let him take care of that. And hopefully he'll bring the car by with it all wrapped up and we can show that to you guys. So like, comment, subscribe, keep an eye out for more videos, and we'll keep them coming.